Hello lovelies, welcome back to Alakeoge YouTube channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be learning how to make these asymmetric skirts. It's so easy and simple to make. So if you're interested in learning how to make these skirts, please continue to watch this tutorial. If you're new here, please kindly subscribe and also click on the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new tutorial. To all my subscribers, thank you very much. You are the real MVP. So now to start off, I have my pattern paper already on the table here. So the measurements you need for this is right there on the screen. So make sure to just get the measurement first. So the measurement I'm first going to take on my pattern paper is the waist to the hip. The waist to the hip measurement I'm working with here is 6 inches. This is just a measurement for a small girl. So I'm just going to mark 6 inches right here, and the waist to the knee that I'm working with is 12 inches. So I'm marking 12 inches for this. So I'm just going to square down those marks that I make right there. So this line is the hip line and this line is the knee line. So I'm just going to label the knee line and also the hip line, and up there will serve as the waist line. So the next thing I'm going to mark is my circumference. That's a round measurement. So the round measurement I'm first taking is the waist measurement. The waist I'm working with is 24. So I'm going to divide that by 4. So 24 divided by 4 equals to 6 inches. So if you don't add that to the front of your skirt, or just like I sometimes do, or most times I don't add that to the front of my skirt, so you don't need to take your dart allowance here. But if you add your dart to the front of your schedule, as you add your dart allowance of 1 inch, that's why I mark 7 inches there. Then on the hip line, I'm going to mark 4 quarter of the hip circumference. The hip circumference is 30, so 30 divided by 4 equals to 8 inches. So I mark 8 inches there, then connect it to the waist line. So the next thing I'm going to mark is on the knee line there. You know, the circumference of the burst of the hip is 32, so 30 divided by 4 equals to 8 inches. So instead of marking the 8 inches of the knee line, I removed 2 inches, so I marked 6 inches on the knee line. So whatever I mark on the knee line is what I'm going to take straight down to the hem. The length of this skirt here, so I did mention, is 24.5. So I'm just going to squat down the line like so, straight down. So whatever you have on your knee line is what you're going to take straight to the hem. So this is an extreme pencil skirt. That this is the max you should do here is between 1 to 2 inches. That is, if your hip quarter of your hip circumference is 9, you should do between 8.5, or at most 7. That means you remove 2 inches, between 1 to 2 inches from your hip circumference, quarter of your hip circumference, and mark it on your knee. So now to create the asymmetric skirt, you need to go down from your knee line between 7 to 10 inches. So I mark 7 for this. So you can do between 7 to 10 or 12, depending on how deep you want your asymmetric to go. So I'm just going to connect from where I marked 7 inches to the knee line there. So I use this 6.5, sorry. So you can do between 6.5 to 7. But this is because for a small girl, for if you're working with an adult measurement, do between 8, 10 or 12 inches, depending on how deep you want it. Then you're going to cut this off. You know, I use a straight ruler to do this line, but you can use a curve ruler too in order to create a kind of curve effect there, or use a straight ruler just like I did. So I'm just cutting off my pattern paper here. So for this is just for the skirt, the upper part. So we're going to be working on each differently. So this is the upper part right there, and I'm just going to cut the lower part too. So I'll cut the lower part too, then work on each separately. So I'm just going to set the lower part aside first, then create the that allowance for the upper part. So right here, you know, I've not taken my dart allowance, you know, I added that allowance there. So if you want to add that to the front of your skirt, just mark half of your bust span. The bust span I'm working with here is 7. So 7 divided by 2 equals to 3.5, and the length of the dart I make here is 4 inches. For if you're working with an adult measurement, you should do 5. So I'm just going to mark half inch on both sides because I use 1 inch for the dart allowance, and that's how I created my dart leg right there. And at the center of the skirt, will usually go down by 1 inch in order to eliminate any folding around the waist area for the skirt there at this part. So you're just going to mark 1 inch down, then you take your curve ruler to just connect to the edge of the other side like so. So I'm just going to go ahead. So now I want to smoothen my dart. Once you fold in your dart there, sometimes you notice that one side will be shorter because of this curve line that we did there. So in order to avoid that, just contour, just like I did here, just fold it together and mark. So just going to smoothen it back again. You're just going to fold your allowance together. So see, as I'm cutting there, I folded it together and here. So once I'm joining this together, I won't have any shortage on one side. Can you see how it's straight like right there? So this is all for the upper part of the skirt. I'm just going to go ahead and set the skirt upper side of the skirt aside and work on the lower part. So this is the lower part. I'm just going to work on this. So we're going to be using slash and spread method to do this, to spread out the skirt. So I'll be dividing the skirt into 3. So whatever you have there, you divide it by 3. So I have 6. So 6 divided by 3 equals to 2. So that means each of my slash line will be 2 inches. So whatever yours is, just divide by 3 and that's it. So make sure you label the center part, you write CF, and the side front you add write SF. This is very important so that you won't make mistake once you are spreading. So I'm just going to cut the pattern paper like this. So after I've cut it right here, I'll get a fresh pattern paper. So I'm going to get the fresh pattern paper right here. This is what I'm going to use to spread out my skirt, the down part of the skirt. So this is the front, and we cut the front of a skirt on fold. That means once you are placing your center front, it should be on fold, the folded part of the pattern paper or of your fabric if you are spreading directly on the fabric. So you need to do this. It's very important. Make sure your fabric or your pattern paper is on fold. So I'm just going to use pin to hold this down on this pattern paper. And one thing you know is that we are spreading the other part of the skirt, but the part up there where I'm pointing right here, you are not spreading that part, because if you spread it, that means you're going to have excess there, and if you have excess there, that means you want to pleat that part. Except you want to pleat that part, don't add excess to it. Just like it's right here on this picture here, there is no excess there that was pleated. But if you want yours to be pleated, make sure to spread that part too. But for this I'm not adding excess to it. So can you see that I make sure to join this straight to the other side? So this is how I'm spread mine. So I just spread. I didn't even measure how much I spread. So I just spread. So you can measure, you can do 10 inches apart or 15 inches apart depending on how wide you want it. Then you make sure to connect them together. So use your curve ruler, or you can use a free hand if you can, to make a curve. Make sure the curve is straight. It's not straight, like it's curved together. It's not like one side is up, one side is down. I think we get what I'm trying to say, that your curve should be curved together and not just anyhow. Then the upper part too, I'm going ahead to create a curve there. You need to connect it together so that everything is just going to align at the upper part there. So I'm just using my marker to connect that. So can you see how it's looking right now? This is how your down part is going to be. So the next thing for me is just to cut off my pattern right here. So make sure, so you can add excess to this if you want it to be full. Depending on the length of your skirt, if you want it to be full, you can add fullness to it at the hem. So this is it. So if you've not added seam allowance to your skirt, you can add seam allowance to it at the side front there. You only add seam. And also at the hem too, if you want it longer than that, you can add excess to at the bottom. So this is how it looks like. So if I open it up, this is how it looks. Can you see? So now let's move to the back. So this is the back right here. So I'm marking 1 inch away from the hip there, from the pattern paper there. This will serve as the zipper allowance for the back. There'll still be alteration, but we're just marking this first here. So after that, I'm going to mark from the waist to the knee measurements, which is waist to the hip, which is 12 inches, and waist 6 inches, and waist to the knee, which is 12 inches. So I'm just going to square down the lines right there. That's the hip line, and also this is the knee line. So the next thing I'll mark is the hip waist circumference. The waist I'm working with is 24. So 24 divided by 4 equals to 6. Plus I'll be adding 1.5 for this dart allowance there. So I'll still explain more on that. So 7.5 is the dart allowance I added there. So that 1.5 is dart allowance. So that means I marked 7.5 there. On the hip line, I'll mark quarter of the hip circumference, which is 8 inches. 30 divided by 4 equals to 8. And that's what I mark right there. So I'm just going to connect from the hip straight to the waistline with the curve like so. So on the knee line here, in the front, I removed 2 inches from the what I have on the hip circumference there. 8 minus 2 equals to 6. So that 2 inches, I'm going to divide by 2. So I'll take 1 inch on one side and 1 inch on the other side. So 1 inch from this side here. So after marking the 1 inch away, I'm going to mark 6 inches. I hope you understand. So I'm just going to connect to the other side. So that means I've taken 1 inch from both sides. So this is how you're going to make your back. The center back is not straight. So that 1 inch, I'm still going to mark it straight down to the hem in order to create the effort for the center back right there. This is very, very important for you to do. So I'm just going to be marking the 6 inches too. So this is for accuracy. So that I won't just be marking the line and it will bend. So this is important for you to do. Like, it's just really accurate if you do it like this. So this is how we do the back of our skirt. The center back is not straight, so that is why we divide the pencil effect on both sides of the skirt. So now I'm going to be taking the darts for the skirt. So the bust the bust span is 7 inches. So 7 divided by 2 equals to 3.5, and that is why I mark 3.5 right there. So I'll be using 1 inch for the dart there. So the length of the dart I'll be marking here is 4 inches, just like I mark 4 inches for the front. But if you're working with an adult measurement, you can do 6 inches. So now I said I'll use 1 inch for that. So I mark half inch on both sides. When we're marking the skirt at the beginning, I told us that we had 1.5 for the dart. So that means we still have half inch left. So the half inch, you're going to take it right from the center back right here. So I'm just going to connect the half inch straight to the hip line. So this is the back dart or the back sway. This is essential so that your skirts will not be folding at the center back right there. So this is why we do this. So after that, the next thing I'm going to be marking is the zipper allowance. The 1 inch that we mark away, that has been shifted from there. So from where you have your new lines that we've marked, that is where you're going to be marking your zipper allowance. So we're just going to be marking the zipper allowance right there. So I'm just going to connect like so. This is the new zipper line. So that is how you make a zipper allowance right there. So you're just going to connect. This is it. So can you see? So it's just going to give the curvy effect that you have. This is going to curve into the bum, and it's just going to lift up the bum at the back there. It's not going to be flat. So this is why I will do this. Can you see the shape of the bum right there at the center back? So this is how your skirt should look like. Now we're going to be making our alteration. So the asymmetric effect is not at the back. So we're just going to be slashing the back to give the fullness. We've added the fullness for the front already by slashing it open. So we need to do that for the back too. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the excess of this. So this is the upper part. I'll just trim off the excess paper right here. So there is nothing else to do at this upper part. I'll just trim off the excess paper and set this aside. So now we're going to work on the front. So I'll be trimming off the excess paper on the bottom part here too. So make sure you trim off the excess paper right there. So the next thing I'll do is just like we did for the front, whatever you have here. So away from the zipper allowance, I have 6 inches. Then I will divide that by 3. So 3 divided by 6 equals to 2 inches. So I marked to 2 inches right there. So you should not interfere with the zipper allowance. Just work with the other measurements you have there. So I'm just going to slash this into 3. So this is the side this is the center, and that place we serve as this is the middle and the center back. So make sure you label this the center back and this is the side back. So the next thing is for us to be spreading these. So make sure you spread this, spread it, and just like we did for the front, if you don't want excess, but this place you don't add any excess to it around this part here. So just make sure you spread it out. So just like I did for the front, I didn't measure the amount of fullness that I added. I just added the excess, just slash. So but if you want to do yours, you can actually measure. You can do 10 inches or 15 or 20 depending on how big you want it. So you can actually add your excess to it. So I will be taping this down. So I'll tape this down using my masking tape to tape it down. So after taping this, so I will get this, I'll tape the center back first. So I'll be taping the middle one there. So after taping the middle one, I'll tape the side back. So make sure there is no excess at the tip. There is important. So no excess at this tip where we cut out. So I'm just going to do that right there. So this is it for the back. So just like we did for the front, you need to connect them together. So just like we did for the front, so I'm still taping this down. So make sure you connect them together, just like the front, connect them together. You can use your curve ruler to connect them together, just like we did for the front. So I'm just going to use my curve ruler and connect these together. So I'm just going to use, so if you don't have curve ruler, just make sure you use your hand and make sure they are equal, like the curve is really curved and not choka. So this is it. So now at the center back, we need to add train. This is important so that it's going to be flowing at the back. So your train can be as long as you want, but for these I'll be adding just 4. You can make it 10, you can make it 15, if you can even make it 50. So depending on how much train you want, just make your train as much as you want. Then you connect it back to the side back. The side of the front should be the same with the back. So if you add excess to the side of the front, then you should add excess to the side of the back. But since I didn't add any excess to the side of the front, then I'm not adding any excess to the side of the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect the upper part there too. And that is all for this. So I'm just going to cut off the excess. Make sure your train just add as much as you want, depending on how much you want the train. Just like the train this is what the train looks like. The picture right there on the screen is what the train looks like. If you don't know what I mean by train, so that's what they call train. That flowing that you have at the back of the skirt, that's what is called train. So there is girded too. There is girded too, but this one is train. There are different names for different ones. So this one is train. If you add excess, like you join something to the back, then that one will be girded or go. So this is it there. So we'll be joining this to the what we cut here to the back to show us. So this is how the front looks like. So this front here, you are cutting it. So this is how it's going to look once you join the down part to the upper part. But make sure that you are cutting your front, the upper part and the lower part separately. You're going to be joining them, so you cut the upper part separately and you cut the lower part separately. Don't cut them together. I'm just showing us if we join them together, this is how it's going to look like. Don't mind the space in the middle there. It doesn't affect anything because this is just for the tutorial. I'm just showing us how it's going to look. So cut the upper part separately, unfold, then the lower part separately, unfold too. Then you have your front. So this is how it's going to look. Cut each separately. So here is the back pattern. Can you see how it looks like? So for the back, you're going to cut it together like this. Like you're just going to place, once you tape it together, you're going to place it to the back and join it. So, or you cut it separately, depending on how you want it. You can join the back up like separately. You cut the upper part separate, you cut the lower part separate and join it together. Or you tape the upper part and the lower parts together and just cut it as a single piece. So then you know for the back you need to cut two. So this is all for this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial. So if you find it helpful, please give me a huge thumbs up and also comment in the comment section down below. If you have any question, please ask a question in the comment section. And if you've not subscribed, please kindly hit on the subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on all the amazing content that I'll be dropping on this channel. So make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and also share this video. So thank you very much. Catch you in my next tutorial. Bye.